Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3 and Category 4.
Tim Cutler has absolutely flown out of this peloton to just try and grow a lead up at almost 6 watts per kilo.
Category 3 pack, and it's a large pack of Category 3 riders coming up and onto the Category 4 pack, and this is where the confusion takes place, and this is where we often see an attack go off the front. David Santi kicks. We've got Smythe behind and Betty in too. Santi is adamant he's going to have this today. David Santi crosses the line. He is your winner in the Category 3 race.
This is the run for the line. The yellow banner is in sight. Who's going to take it? Bananas and Gonzalez are fighting it out. Pleasure's right behind him. It's going to be Bananas takes it. Has he got the roll? He's got to get this kick right into the finish. This descent is tricky. It's going to kick again. Gates is going. It's Tom Gates who's going to take the win. Over he goes.
He turns the corner. He sees the gantry. This is Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh, and Michael Vink is going to take the victory in Category 1.
Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 1, 2nd of July 2023. Doesn't time fly? Yes, it's Matt here. I'm back. I've returned for my BMX duties, not on the bike, but on the mic for the UCI. It was great to be over there watching the racing, but I did watch all of the racing and I enjoyed having Anthony and Emma in and covering all of the action. Thank you very much, Anthony. And thank you, Emma. And great to be back with you and all of our riders. And I know I said this before on the women's show, which make sure you watch it back. But I have missed everybody. I was only away for one weekend.
Well, a lot can happen in one weekend, and you miss some phenomenal racing in the June final. We are starting July. I can't believe it's July already. It's Qualifier Race number 1, and we are in Australia for the men's race. It is the Outer Loops Day, so I am really looking forward to this. We come out the start pen to that really early kicker that's really nasty in top 7%, but that main climb, that Category 2 climb, coming at 15.3 kilometres. It's a stepped climb, as you can see there in front of you, with an average gradient of 8.1%. Now, the key to this race is to go over the top of that climb with whoever you want to be at the finish line with, because it's a long run to the finish from the top of that Category 2 climb. The finish coming at 45 kilometres, and take a look at that. That is a tricky finish.
I'll tell you something, there are sort of several selection points here. The first one comes within a kilometre. It's that first little bump that you can see. That it's almost a pimple. It's not when you ride it, believe me. Then after the first of our sprints, there's another little rise, a big dip and a raise, and that's the second selection point. Then we've got the big climb, which is selection point number 3. And after that, as Emma says, realistically, it's about making sure that you're in there at the finish and not losing a wheel on the way back down. But as you can see, it is rolling on the way in. There's a lot of change in terrain, and it is not flat. It's very deceptive because of the scale of the climb. This is going to be really testing for the riders. 4 categories, Category 1 in yellow, 2 in green, 3 in blue, and 4 in red. And Category 4 are the first of our riders to go. They have a 5-minute head start on Category 3. All individuals today, no teams joining us, although the riders that make up those teams are here, and a great race filled with some really good riders.
Yeah, absolutely. Kamesh is here today. So's Astorga, Noah Gutierrez, Mendoza, Ramos, our fast starter, Kaluma, Decker, Finati, amongst others. 34 riders on the Category 4 start sheet today. So we are in with Hoyos as the clock ticks down on our Category 4 riders for Qualifier Race number 1 in July. Away go our Category 4 riders. We are up and out of the start pen. We are go.
We are go indeed, and the riders going over the top, loving the emotes that are coming out from our riders as they come in and through. This is the start, and this is tough stuff. Left-hand turn. Now, If you go on here, this is of course it was used for the Tune-Up Tuesdays, the Palmetto circuit, and this climb is brutal. Went out there to just have a good ride up and use the Palmetto circuit because I wanted to know just how this climb feels going hard from the gun. I tell you something, it's really, really tough. Come round this right-hand turn, you pick up a little bit of speed out from the pens, but you're already at 3%, and this is the turbo train is really starting to bite. From the start of this little climb, which for me was really this archway that gave us that indication coming through, from here to the top of the climb, it's about a minute and a half for sort of a good tempo ride up here. Flat out, I did about 116 up from there to the top, and that's a massive, massive effort. I mean, I was absolutely flat out on there, and we're not having to ride for the rest of the race route that our riders have, which is 45k. I was only doing about 15k that time. Massive, massive kick, and you see the damage it's done. It's really spreading out, and the riders going in the red really early here, Emma.
Absolutely, less than a kilometre of this race complete, and the category 4 pack is completely spread across the road, and the gradient now kicking to 7%. You can see why they're spread across the road. This is a really hard start, and it's back leading the group out currently 6 watts per kilo. This is a real hard effort coming into the early stages of this race from this group of category 4 riders, and it is already doing damage to the group. You need to be seriously warmed up today with a start like this.
You do. It is absolutely, I can't describe how hard that climb is. I'm good on a sprint effort, you know. Something like the 1 minute marker is about my kind of ideal length. I tell you something, I really, really felt this climb when it goes from the gun. It's not like you've got to have such a good warm up and get the muscles going. You're going to be pulling on the bars. It's so realistic. It is really tough stuff. The riders today going over there at an incredible pace, and they've still got a long way to go. This is a 45k race. It's not Tune-Up Tuesday, where we're talking much shorter distances, really good, quick, snappy stuff. We are talking a long race.
Well, currently we've got 4 groups on the road in this category 4 race at Group 1 and Group 2. Look as though they are coming back together again now. You can see that definitely on the top right-hand corner graphic. Group 3 and Group 4 still got some chasing to do. The question is, will it all come back together after that effort on that first little kicker?
Well, I don't think it will. It's so brutal. And if it does, the effort to stay in with the group is so big on that climb that it's going to be some really, really sore. Some riders who've gone into the red zone here. Really hard start, really fast racing, but competitive. And let's face it, this isn't a ride. This is Sunday Race Club. There are prizes on offer. There's prize money. That we've got some great competition. And of course, we're here calling this.
We are indeed, in the front of this category 4 pack concertinaing as they go down the road, but you can't see it on the screen on the top right hand corner, but there is a group of category 4 riders already distanced. There you go, take a little look at that. You can just see them on the screen.
Yeah, just about in sight, and it has done some serious damage. Just looking back through here, it's a big group though, Emma, still, and that is of course because we've got a large race field in category 4 as we have for category 3, and category 3 lined up on that start line. There, our next group of riders away, and another big race field, all individual riders once again. So our teams come into play when we get to our monthly finals. We'll do a little run through of that a little bit later on. So category 3, 5 minutes behind category 4 and 10 minutes in front of category 2. And it's a bigger field, isn't it? Slightly bigger field than
Slightly bigger field than category 4. So 34 riders on the start sheets in category 4, 37 riders on the start sheets in category 3. Gakes is here, so is Dadson, Orengo, Eckersley, Hoyas, Staples, Tortoretto, Alebo, Orego, Polgarin, Aaron, Pledger, Roncalli. So, you know, some strong riders in here. And I think this is going to be really competitive today. Now, it will be competitive. Last week, the team prize, subject to verification, 19 seconds separating Team 1 and Team 2. As away go our Category 3 riders. They are out of the start pen. It is a really competitive race field, Category 3, with strength and depth.
Strength and depth indeed, and again this same start. So off the boardwalk, tight left-hand turn here. along the side of the water, and then the right-hand side, this little bit of a dip here, picking up speed, and then into the climb. Are we going to see that same fracturing? And we're already seeing one or two little gaps opening up between the riders here in Category 3. We're in with Jack Staples, a man who's got some serious climbing power, a rider who took part in the MyWhoosh Championships with some aplomb, and at the moment looking very good. Now, is anybody going to be able to extricate themselves from the group and head up on to the climb? Or will this be one bunch as they go over the top? Tighter at the moment, but the gradient increasing 5% now. Remember, this kicks up to over 7%, and it's a hard effort coming for the riders now.
Well, as the wheels go skywards, it's only for a short time, but it's a short kicker that really plays out in the early stages of this race. We're starting to just see the stretch here, but not as much as we saw in that Category 4 race. So a steadier effort at the moment from these Category 3 riders. Now, that Category 4 race stretched and it broke, but it did come back together again on the other side of this climb. And maybe Category 3 thinking, well, if it's all going to come back together again, let's reserve some energy.
Yeah, very different here, and although the numbers are still in that red zone as we go up over the top of the climb here, you can just see it's not done that same amount of damage here. I think, as you say there, a little bit more conservative potentially, but also I think what we need to remember is Category 3 are riders who have got better watts per kilo, got better results. All of the riders' data is crunched up to make sure that we get the right riders together, a similar ability, and I think it's showing. They're very close here in Category 3.
Oh, yeah, completely. The strength and depth in Category 3. It is a really tightly matched group. And as we mentioned right at the very beginning as they were in the start pen, you know, last week's final, Aaron, Ospina, Staples, Pulgarian and Tortoretto, the top 5, subject to verification. But in the team competition, you know, 3 riders' times added together to give you the team competition, just 19 seconds between those 2 first teams.
So 19 seconds between them, and of course it's big prize money when you are racing in those teams in the final. We don't have the team competition here during our qualifiers. It is down to those individual riders. So I think it's potentially a different dynamic, and I think that does change things for sure as the riders go through. You're just in with Category 4 at the moment. Now, still a big group here.
Yeah, it is indeed still a big group, and just gone through underneath the banner signifying the first of our segments today. Now, 4 segments on this course today, 3 sprints at 300 meters and 1 Category 2 climb. So they just go through now. Just taking a look, 20 riders in that leading group.
So 20 riders in that leading group. They're going through the sprints for information only. Unlike the championships, there are no prizes for going through fast, so it's a good window on what our riders are doing. In fact, let's show you the prizes. So Category 4 prize money. This is for our Category 4. We're in the qualifiers here, Emma. So that means that we've just got individual prizes for the riders in the qualifying races. We kick off with 432 AED. Now, Durham, that's 5th place, right up to 2,160 for first. The team competition last time out, I mean, 10,800 AED. And as you said, 3 riders to count for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3 riders to count in that final. Your team can have up to 5 riders, but it is those fastest 3 times. And now I said it was 19 seconds between those 2 teams in Category 3, and you can see the differential in the prize money that they're racing for. So every second counts.
And that's Category 4. Category 3, 19 seconds. And you can see there,
oh,
19
7,200 AED.
For 9 seconds.
19.
19, sorry. So, yeah, I'm not even going to begin to do the amount of dirham per second that was, but it's expensive. So, as you can see, we've got a lift in terms of the team and the individual in this category. Remember, qualifying races each week on a Sunday until we get to the last Sunday in the month. The Onyx sessions there is when we have the championships, when we're going to go in. Now, let's have a look at our Category 2 and 1 riders who are going to be coming up shortly. they have an increased prize pot, and that is because they're faster riders. We're moving up through the ranks, and this is one of the incentives to continue to push. If you needed it to jump on the training plan, well, big money here.
Yeah, and as we start to see the prize money increase in Category 2 and Category 1, allowing really a professionalisation of esports and dedicated commitment to training and racing on the esports platform.
I know one rider in Category 2 took away, I think it was 6,500 AED on the way through comfortably, and in fact, I think in sterling, no, sorry, 6,500 sterling last month. So that's a substantial sum in AED. He had a good month, that's for sure. Now, if it had been in Category 1 and able to get those same results in Category 1, which he wouldn't, then he would have been really in the money, because, as you can see, 10,000 AED for the race winner today, 8,000 for second, 6,000 for third, 4,000 for fourth, and 2,000 for fifth in our finals. Add the individual plus the team classification together, and you can see that this is why we see our professional teams riding. We don't, however, have all of our professionals in with us today.
Yeah, and whilst we've just taken a look at our prize money, just a quick tot up, there were 3 qualifying rounds in June. 49 different riders over the 4 categories took top 5 positions and hence took away prize money through the qualifiers in June.
So that's just in the qualifiers, which are the results that are verified at the moment. So just in those qualifiers, not including our finals, there was nearly 50 riders taking away prizes across 3 sets of qualifiers. That is absolutely stunning across 4 categories. Remember, the prize money equal in men's and women's competition. Brilliant to see. And gotta say, if esports is going to be sustainable and establish itself like the old school disciplines of road and track. I mean, the Tour de France started in 1903. You know, you've got a real, you've really got to make this work, and we need to have riders who are dedicated to it, because it is a different discipline, and that's great to see. Now, just before we go over to our next category, just a quick recap. Category 4 and 3 on the road. Category 3, the last category to start, and that is 4.5k under the wheels. They're at 7 minutes 45 of racing. They're on one of our segments, and we'll run through those segments in a little while, and total up where people are in there. The segments timed individually. They don't score towards the prizes or the race results in the Sunday Race Club. It's a very simple format. It's all about first over that finishing line in each of our categories. First 5 taking prizes, but there's plenty of bragging rights amongst riders. We know there are plenty of riders who know each other, racing against each other and looking to see who can be at the top of those standings. So 4 and 3, the 2 categories away. Categories 2 and 1 waiting in the pens, and category 2 will be our next set of riders to go. You can see they're in the green on the top right of your screen, and category 1 in the yellow on the top left hand side of your screens, and they've got some work to do with category 4 currently at 8.5 kilometers and over 5 kilometers covered for category 3 already. So 4 categories, 4 race starts, 4 sets of prizes, 4 race winners. Gonna look forward to see who's going to kick off their July in style with a race win and their arms in the air. Let's see who's going to be in the running in category 2. The category 2 riders are next riders to go, and I absolutely love category 2. Maybe this is probably because this is probably where I'd end up, let's face it. I'm definitely not a category 1 rider, that's for sure. Nowhere near the pace, to be honest, at the moment, probably category 5 if we had one. Now, lots of individuals in here. We know the UAE Falcons fielding some of their riders, people like Hassan Al-Rametri and Hamdan and Tanaji. Now, but realistically, this is about the individual. Anybody stand out from those start sheets for you, Emma?
Well,
the riders?
35 riders on the Category 4 start sheets today. Cam Winfield, the young rider who was wearing one of those MyWhoosh Championship jerseys on social media this week on the start sheet. So is Kranich, so is Simeon's Betty von Haren, Angarita Cadiz and Oviedo, as well as Filippo Quadrelli. And we know he can climb.
He can indeed. So the riders are all ready to go in category 2. Away they go. Category 2 are go, go, go. This is time to make it count. No more rehearsals. We are on qualifier race number 1.
So away we go in July. This is the first race of high summer. Away we go. Well, I say high summer here in the northern hemisphere, high winter or midwinter in the southern hemisphere, because we've got riders from all around the world today.
We have indeed riders coming from the southern and northern hemispheres, all the way from multiple time zones, racing and riding. People getting up in the middle of the night to race, people on the silly o'clock shift to set up the studios. Don't I know it? Lots of coffee consume for us, but there'll be other people. It's the end of their day and they'll have been resting to make sure that they can put in a great performance here today. And then our riders in. We're in with Taylor Consoling and just moving across to Cam Winfield, a real who's who of the MyWhoosh Championships. And if you haven't watched the racing, please do. Henry Oysen here. Saw Henry got a jersey coming through. It's landed with him. And what I really loved, and I think it's not intentional, I think it's just by the vagaries of the postal system globally, is that we're seeing a constant run of people getting their jerseys come through, people getting them early if they're closer to the UAE, which of course is where MyWhoosh is based, but then spreading out across the globe. And it's kind of representative of how we've got riders coming out from across the globe. Can they all perform at the level of our leaders? I'm not sure, because Olivier Simmons and Nicholas Spratt at the moment, on this first climb that breaks the racing up in Category 4 and broke it apart, have pushed on, but they've made that look easy. Over the top they go. Very, very quickly indeed. We've just seen 7-8 watts per kilo coming out from those riders, and look at the damage that's done.
Well, and they're continuing to push over the top of that climb and onto the descent to pick up the momentum, and the riders now frantically scrabbling behind as Simmons and Spratt are leading the way. Quintero and Biarhead with Cusmano now frantically trying to get onto those wheels. We saw an early break in Category 4 in the women's race. Are we going to see the same here in Category 2 in the men's race today?
Well, I can't wait to find out who's going to be on the top. And will it be somebody who's pushing early? Somebody who's clearly feeling strong and wants to be at the top of the tree, maybe whittling that group down, breaking it out? It's that word again, whittling. If you want an explanation, we're not going to do one today. You have to go back and watch the previous editions. And don't forget, you can catch up with the racing on it is MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. So MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV. And of course, you can catch up with us going even further back into the dim and distance past on YouTube.
Well, for me, this is a really different race course today. You know, we're in Australia, we're on the outer loop course. You know, that climb coming before the midpoint of this race today. So for me, rather than, for example, we were on the Hebel Hace last week for the June final, where the climb is at the end of the route, today the climb is before the halfway point. So I think this is a race to 21 kilometers, and then there's a period of recovery before we see the finish. And you have to be in the select group at that 21 kilometer mark to ensure you are in that finish. And that is why we're seeing so many attacks here in this Category 2 race, as it is indeed Joos that is moving forward here. Smythe doing the chasing. Winfield is there as well. So is Von Haren and Quadrelli, because they know this is the move you need to chase. Look at the size of that Category 2 pack. They are absolutely moving, and they are trying to break this up early.
They are now. Let's jump across from Category 2 to our final category, Category number 1. Top of the tree, the first legs of the Italian Gelato squad and the UAE clan team will do battle once again. Lots of riders who were in the team competition in our finals in riding as individuals today, and they will reform on the run into our finals at the end of the month. But this is going to be very interesting, because I don't think it necessarily plays to the team's advantages, this course, because of that mountain in the middle.
Well, it plays to their advantage if they can make the selection on that mountain in the middle, but we're going to see what happens. So 62 riders on the start sheets today. So Van Diemen is the rider we are in with as we watch the seconds go down, and we are a go for Category 1. This is qualifier number 1 in July on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Our Category 1 riders all up and out of the start pen. but some very different starting tactics there. This large pack of riders pushing on, but we've already got a big stretch of riders in this category. Now, let's remember, all new riders start in Category 1, and we are the first qualifier of the month, so any riders joining us for the first time will indeed be in this pack. They may not end up in Category 1. They may well be allocated to 2, 3 or 4 once the verification process takes place, but they are here today as we are watching this race underway now.
And our riders now moving on to the first climb of the day. This is where it transitions from being a minus gradient to a positive gradient. It's positive in terms of inclination. It's not positive if you are going to have a tough day at the office. And this is where you're going to find out Juan Hoyos and Phil Graves on the move. Phil Graves with a great run through last month in Category 2, being pushed back up into Category 1 by his performances last month, hovering around the borders. And I'll tell you something, he's looking to come back with a bang into Category 1. And don't worry, if you are in Category 1, you're a new rider, do not lose heart. Keep pushing all the way into the finish. This is one of our most brutal courses in terms of starts. It doesn't mean this is where you are going to find yourself time and time again getting distance. It won't take long before we've got the numbers. We put you in the category that you need to be in for some great competitive races, but you do need to push first. And I'll tell you something, pushing is what these riders are doing. They're over the top and they're into the descent already. The speed and the push of this group has gone clear. Selection 1 has been made in Category 1. And if you are not in this group, I'll tell you now, game over for those top 5 prizes.
Well, and that's within 2 minutes of racing. You needed to be absolutely on the money. Coming out the start pen today, and interesting to see Graves, you know, a background in professional triathlon. He was indeed in Category 2 last month, and very different race tactics we saw from Graves in Category 2. Phenomenally competitive back in Category 1. Now in Category 1, strong first hour normally. Historically, we've seen attack after attack from Phil Graves in Category 1, but not there when we come to the climb, traditionally at the end, because doesn't have the climbing legs of the other Category 1 riders. Nice to see him back in here, mixing it up on the front. But as you say, Matt, this group already selective. Now, we've got Al Hamadi on the start sheets, Van Elst, Van den Eckhart, Martins, Queenstonen, Fawcett, Safrazad, Graves, Kaminsky, Thiem, Bjorkland, Van Diemen, Zanaska, Popovic, SS, X100 and Knudsen. 2 riders missing today. No Noren. Now Noren rode really strongly last week with a top 3 position. No Vujasin. He's a little bit busy on a sunbed by a pool.
Is he really?
He is indeed.
Enjoy your break, and I'll tell you something, he's a rider who's been absolutely flying. I think he was actually out at the Olympics at the esports event. I think well, I know a lot of our riders were out in Singapore on there, and looking forward to seeing them when they're back with us. Another rider not with us, of course, Michael Vink is not here. So the legendary, the infamous, the man who had a tactic named after him to do a Michael Vink, basically to break clear and take a solo victory and put everybody else to the sword, to use the portrism.
He vinks, I vink.
Maybe I vink. No, I vink is too close to I think,
Oh.
which is something I definitely don't do all the time, particularly on the bike. But he's not with us. He's in the Tour of Austria. So good luck, Michael. I hope you have smooth riding and the gradients don't hurt too much on the ascent, and the downhills are smooth and safe. And we look forward to seeing how he gets on. And don't forget, random cost for the UAE clan team, but he also rides for the UAE Emirates team, who kicked off their Tour de France in style yesterday. We are quite biased in the studio because
I'm smug.
Yeah, that is because we have had the pleasure of watching the riders who took first and second place race since they were very young. Not quite since they were in stabilizers, but it's close. So to give you an idea of the racing, if you haven't watched, I don't want to give you any spoilers for it because I know we're on different time zones and it did finish quite late yesterday, but it is great to see when you see people like Tadej Pogacar and the riders who figure at the 4 with the MyWhoosh across the chest for the team. And that's true whether it's the UAE ADQ team for the women or it is the men's UAE Emirates team. And you look at them on that podium, arms in the air, wearing the various jerseys, and
let me just
MyWhoosh
say,
across the front.
I had in our fantasy Tour de France team, should I say in my fantasy Tour de France team, I had 1 and 3.
I didn't. So we do have a fantasy Tour de France team going on the Velo Games platform, and at the moment Emery's leading in that competition. We'll update you on that every week, particularly if I'm going to be in the lead and Emery's drop back down again.
It's got a lot of points to catch up already after day 1. Well, I'll tell you something, this category 1 race is stretching already. The pace is on the front from Phil Graves. Our category 2 race coming up for 7.5 kilometres underway. A big group in this category 2 race at the moment on the road. Very little damage done to that group, just 1 or 2 riders dropping off the back. Category 3, still around 30 riders in that group. A big group of blue jerseys already picked up a category 4 rider. They're at 12.8 kilometres. At coming up for 15 kilometres is the leaders on the road, and that is our category 4 pack. It won't be long until category 4 hit the base of that climb at 15.3k, and I think they're going to hit it as one large group.
Yep, I think that is going to be the case. Looking in here at this group, we just seen whilst we were talking about the Tour de France selection, a few big digs going from Kaminsky, Graves answering them. These initial forays, Emma, we're not ignoring them, but they don't tend to force a selection, particularly at this point in time, because we're about to come in to the big dip. So we're at 4.6k. We're just going to come through the end of the Sydney sprint segment. This will give us an indication of how many riders are in this group. It gives us a time check going through for the relative speeds of category 1, 2, 3 and 4. But unlike the championship, it is not a point scoring opportunity, so we're not going to see the riders use it as an attack point per se. However, we are about to go through, you can see on the top right hand side of your screen the dip, the rise, and then a bigger fall on that course profile. That's above the little green arrow pointing upwards. That is where we are at the moment. When we drop down in towards the tunnel. This is a big climb back out, and that for me is selection point number 2. So as we go in and through, the really interesting here, Simmons, Oviedo, Alpino, Bjarhead leading through for category 2. The first of the category 1 riders in 7th and 8th place, that's Carsten Meyer and Juan Hoyos. They are the riders who are in category 1. They're the fastest of the category 1 riders. And at the moment, as we speak, category 2 fractionally quicker, only a matter of a few seconds, than category 1. And that is all about how this race is being ridden and how the riders are performing at the moment. I think we are going to see a very interesting change. Now segments are individually timed. They are discrete on the way through. So we've just gone through the sprint, and this is prior to 5k. From there, we go into our next time segment is the Canberra climb. When we finish the Canberra climb, we then drop down the mountain. We've got another 2 sprints on the way into the finishing line, but you can see at the moment category 2 in the tunnels underneath the sea. They are about to hit the next attacking point. The next selection point is this next climb, because this is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. If you thought the first climb, that first kick out from the start line was hard, this is even harder. So here we go, heading in towards the ascent. You'll see that the exit to the tunnels out from the undersea tunnels is coming up. The gradient has increased. We're at 5% now, and we're at the base of this climb out. This is going to be key. You've got to make selection here. If you get distance here, you're going to be in trouble, and this is longer. It isn't quite as steep for the majority of this climb. However, you can see it stretching. The group is starting to thin. The numbers are going into the red. You can see right-hand side of your screen, increasingly yellow, orange, red. You can see those riders are pushing into that zone, trying to stay in contention, and it is stretching out here. So at the moment, we're in with Filippo Quadrelli, one of the riders who are an absolutely flyer. When he was in the championships, he's shown he can climb. He's a great wheel to be in with on this climb. We're about a third of the way up the climb, approaching halfway. At the moment, nobody being distance here. One or two riders just off the back, and they're going to have to push harder if they want to use this to make another selection and to take this group down from what is a big pack of riders.
Well, it's 28 riders in this group at the moment. This is a big leading group in the Category 2 race, and we said that these categories were well matched, and that is really evident here. Is that Simmons, who is the rider pushing on at the front, starting now to try and stretch this on this climb out of the tunnels. Oviedo and Winfield going with him as well. Von Haren now 3 seconds back, so just putting on a little bit of a push here. We're going to come to the top of this climb, and we are going to have a flat run for a while into the base of that Category 2 climb. Now that Category 2 climb coming at 15.3 kilometers, so in just over 4.5k as this group come back to the wheel of Simmons.
So here we go, back on the wheel of Simmons, the Category 2 together. They're coming up towards the top. They're going to try and push over the top, down at the base, and descending go Category 1, 61 kilometers an hour on the descent, sub 30 on the ascent, and over the top Category 2. Category 1 are about to hit the base, but you can see this pace is hot, but the group is together because the draft effect, hiding behind another rider, will save you so much energy. It is an absolutely key skill. It is one of the things that you need to learn. The ability in the road racing or on the track to sit 10 millimeters off the wheel in front is a skill that the riders hone time and time again. And as somebody who spent a lot of time practicing it, I always think it's really good when I can sit on a wheel, use far less energy, and then the rider who that I've then sits on my wheel sits a lot further back, wastes so much energy, absolutely burning themselves out, because I've been able to save more. Now, it's the same here. Modulate your power. Learn how to sit on a wheel is critical. Get those numbers on the top left-hand side of the screen in the green. When those numbers on the screen are green, green is good because you are saving energy. If you're on the front, you need to be attacking. You need to be making it hard.
I love the parallel between esports on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club and cyclocross racing in the winter. Green is good.
Yeah, green is good, although there's no mud. So it's slightly different, and hopefully you're not going to fall off your smart trainer or off your turbo trainer and do that. It does happen occasionally.
I was about to say, I've known people fall off. I've known people puncture. Yep. There's a number of similarities that you wouldn't expect on an esports platform to riding in real life that does happen. Now this group, 20 riders in the front of this Category 1 race, not a larger group as that Category 2 race, but still a large Category 1 group and a strong Category 1 group. All the riders we would expect to see there are indeed in this bunch. Riders very hidden at the moment that we are expecting to see show their hand on the climb. I can see Safrazad in there, Knudsen in there, X100. These are the riders I'm expecting to come to the fore on that climb. But it's going to be interesting to see where or if an attack comes, as we do indeed see Mayer come to the front here as we are just now coming up to the rise that will take us out of the underwater tunnels and on the run in to the rolling start of that Category 2 climb.
So here we go. Now we're heading into the selection point on the sent out the tunnels of Category 1, but look at this bunch in Category 3 here. They're starting to close down on some of our riders in Category 4, and they are on the Canberra climb. Now this is a stepped climb. There are two platforms on the way up. The first is great. You can see it on the top right hand side. In fact, you see both platforms in there. The first one is a big platform. It's actually got a slight descent in it, and it is a great place to regroup on. The second platform is minimal, and because it's minimal, it will break the rhythm. So when you're sat at a rhythm, imagine if you're running up a long tower block and you're going up the stairs. Every time you get to a landing, the further you go, legs go to jelly. So what you want is you want to have a longer platform so you can do a little bit of recuperation and really go for it. What's going to happen here? This is going to change how the riders are riding, because you are going to find that that rhythm changes and it breaks. Now, the Category 4 riders, they are at 17.7k, and they are about to exit that platform. You can see they're going up back into the steeper slopes on the right hand side. They've gone from having a minus gradient up into the positive about 4%. Meanwhile, Category 3 are on the way up to that platform at 9.5%.
Yeah, they are indeed. But look at this, we've still got 2 groups on the road. So Category 3 took 34 riders in Category 3 went into the base of the climb together. Now, the slopes might seem steep at the moment at 10%, but these are not the steepest slopes on the climb. The steepest slopes come towards the very top. And for me, that's where we are going to see the big attacks come. We're going to see the attacks come in that final kilometre of this climb, not on these early slopes. Though it is stretching the group out, and we are seeing it become a smaller group in that Category 3 race. 1 kilometre further up the mountain is that Category 4 race. Our leaders on the road at the moment now at 18k. They still have, I'm just checking my numbers, the top of the climb is at 20.7 kilometres. So still 2.5 kilometres till they reach the summit of the climb. But the group is still together here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 riders at least in this leading group of the Category 4 race as they continue their way up the climb. Now, Category 2 and Category 1, they are not there yet.
They're not there yet, and they're going to be working out how much effort they want to put in before you hit this climb. Remember, the summit of this climb is not even realistically halfway through, because the summit comes at 20.7k, and this is a 45-kilometre race. Really interesting course. Now, we would describe this here in the UK as a Marmite course. Basically, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. It's basically something that you spread on bread or toast if you're lucky enough to be able to eat it. It's probably at the top of my list of things at the moment I'm not allowed to eat and really want to. However, it is a Marmite course. I absolutely love it. Some people absolutely hate it. It's the same with this course. This course, I can't make my mind up. I either love it or hate it. It's either amazing because it breaks the race and it's so different to everything else we use, or I hate it because it forces riders into action early, but then we get the lull on the way down and back in. But it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes we see some really intriguing action, some really subtle tactics towards the end. I think it makes a great finals course.
Well, and the more we ride these courses and the more we race these courses, the different tactics we see come to play as riders understand what each other are going to do. And we are seeing that play out today. So on the right hand side of your screen are Category 4 riders now stretching as they come to the latter stages of the climb. Category 3 still a large pack. They are up and over now that first kicker. Category 2 is a big group going into the base, and Category 1, well, they are still 4 kilometers off of the climb. So really interesting playing out today on this climb. On the bottom of your screen, Category 3 and Category 4 as they are on the steeper slopes.
And if you want to get a climbing workout, if you want to know how to ascend properly, don't forget at the moment we are in the middle of a great competition on MyWhoosh where we have 10 workouts for you set by our 2 professional teams supported by MyWhoosh, the UAE Emirates team and the UAE ADQ squad, so the men's and women's squads. So there are different types of workouts on there: sprinter, climber, GC, whatever you want to get out of it. If you pick a workout, you complete 5 of those, you're going to be in the running for winning a signed jersey by one of the legends of the peloton, and as you know, I'm sure, the UAE teams with some amazing riders. The Giro Donny would currently ride us in the top 10 in the Tour de France. Well, quite a lot of riders in the top 10, including a certain Tadej Pogacar, and really, really interesting day. Yesterday was a stunning day on the Tour. I'm having no spoilers. I'm not even going to look at social media. Anybody who puts anything spoilers up about the Tour is in trouble, because I'm planning on catching up with that this afternoon. And we're actually going to be out at the Tour next week. So Emma and myself from Full Speed Events are going to be out at the Tour all the way through next week. We will be bringing you the Sunday Race Club, probably buzzing from seeing the Tour come down past us in France in the days preceding, but really looking forward to seeing the team in action. And make sure you jump onto the workouts. You know, we always say you should race to your strengths and train your weaknesses, which means that basically riding your bike needs to be my training, and I need to race for ice cream and coffee. That would probably be about right at the moment. I tell you something, these riders at the moment, I think they're on the espressos, and they've got several ice creams lined up at the end. They've been doing their training.
There is a question as to which of the Tour de France workouts you need today. Do you need Bennett's climber workout for this mid-climb, for the Canberra climb, or do you need Ackerman's sprinter workout?
Oh, he's a great sprinter.
Because that finish flag is on a slight downhill run.
So let's have a look. So what are the 5 categories of workout, Emma?
Oh, hold on a minute. Climber, sprinter, time trial, domestique and rouleur.
I would suggest today's a rouleur's day, even though it's not a rouleur's profile, because you've got to be able to climb, but you've also got to be able to go off the front. If you're going to try and do what Olivier Simmons is doing here and work your way up, you could almost suggest that a time trial performance on this climb and a second time trial performance on the flat section on the far side would be a good way to go. But you've got to get rid of everybody else, and that is not easy with the quality of race fields and the riders that we're in. So in here with category 2, it is Olivier Simmons, Alessio Caligulo, Jonas Bjarhed in here. They're starting to wind this up. Remember, this is the stepped climb. We have a large platform and a shorter platform, the 2 platforms on the way up to the summit, changing the rhythm, changing the pace, allowing for some slightly different tactics to be employed here. Just in with category 1, they're about to get towards the start. So in this little run down here, really winding up. Interesting to see that we've got 1 or 2 of our category 2 riders able to catch a little bit of a lift in here. Cardenas just going in through and making his way. I think Velez doing the same here, and basically using the pace. A really good place to be caught. If you're going to get caught before the climb, you want it long before, not on the climb itself, because that will make a huge difference.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to take a tow from a pack, it's not on the climb. You want to be caught from the group behind, because they will be able to move faster than you on the climb. Being able to sit in the draft is where you want to be. Take that tow in.
Indeed. So here we go. In with Mr. X100, the road captain of the UAE clan team. Good to see Mr. X100 in here. Really is the he's a glue that seems to bind the team together. There are lots of riders doing a lot of work within that team, and although this is not a team competition today, one of the things that I actually find really, really good about the team from the UAE clan squad is no matter what the race it is, whether it's a qualifier or a final, they work as a team and they practice those tactics day in, day out. And I think it's that dedication to doing that that has resulted in them being the team to beat. Because whenever we have a competition, we don't talk about 2 of the other teams. They're always in that mix. And I think that is partly about this, how they work together and how they work as a team. Today, we've got SS, we've got Mr. X100 in there, Pablo Popovic in that team normally, we've got Fink in that team normally, you've got people like Knudsen in that team normally, all of which are in there and working together. Now let's see on this climb, can they make those tactics work? Because we do see people pulling riders back in if they get in trouble in that team.
Well, yeah, we do, but SS, X100 and Knudsen, the 3 riders from that team in this race today. Now, just to go back to talking about that team competition in the finals, in May, The UAE clan team did indeed win the team competition, but the Belgian Waffles ran them really close. 9 seconds in it, and Italian Gelato were not far behind. Now, the June final clashed with the Esports Olympics, and as you mentioned earlier, Matt, Kaminsky, Vujasin, Martins and Nair were all on duty at the Esports Olympics in Singapore, which took the Belgian Waffle team pretty much out of contention. Okay.
Indeed.
But the Italian Gelato squad did indeed try and run the UAE clan team close. 1 minute 51 at the moment, separating those two teams. Still awaiting verification on that June final.
And that's Pim van Diemen, Vidal Mayer and Lucas Zanaska who are riding today for the squad. You can see Pim van Diemen on the screen at the moment, just the bottom on the right hand side. They're just working his way up and through. And Pim van Diemen, a really class act. You can see the Netherlands rider at the moment tucked in there. We're currently at 16k. And I'll tell you something, I think he's reasonably comfortable at this pace. He's sat at a nice pedal cadence.
Yeah, look at the heart rate.
145. He's not on his limit, is he?
No, not at all. Not at all. So a good steady pace at the moment in this pack of Category 1 riders. So we said there were 20 riders going into the base of the climb together in this Category 1 race. A steady pace for them. It may not be for me or for anybody else, but for them, this is a steady pace. And you can see that from the heart rates at the moment in this group. So still comfortable in this group. They are very, very well matched coming into this climb. I think, as we've said in the other race fields, it's the second and third segments of this climb where we're really going to see the attacks and the time gaps happen.
So when we're talking about the climb, we're talking about 2 platforms. We're talking about 3 segments on the way up. Let's look at that in a little bit more detail here, Emma. So they're different lengths and they're different platforms. So we're focusing in on the red section of the profile in front of you. And this is the Canberra climb. It's a climb that is basically going to ascend 404 meters of ascent from its base to the top. But you can see those 2 platforms now. Platform number 1 has a dip in it. It's longer. Second segment and then third segment are almost equal in length, but they're separated by next to nothing in between, aren't they? That's a much shorter platform there. And the 2 platforms, by pushing over the steep section before and onto it, you can be picking up speed at the front of a group when the back group are still labouring on the climb.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we also see is that the second and third sections of that climb actually have the steeper gradients. In fact, the steepest gradient comes in the final 100 meters of the climb, where we will see the gradient go to around 16%.
And that's right at the top of this climb.
Absolutely. And absolutely is, of course, my word of the week. But as you literally tip up and go over the top, you're going from a 16% gradient up and over the top and then straight down the other side. And let's not forget, getting up to pace and getting the momentum on the downhill and the speed, absolutely critical.
It is indeed. Now, here we go. On to the climb. Indeed is my word of the day. That and extricate. So who's going to extricate themselves off the front? Indeed, it looks like it is Kaminsky. There we go. Get
Absolutely.
So Michael Kaminsky leading this out. He's got a little bit of a gap. And this group is now starting to break. Look at the riders behind who are not able to stay on the pace here. This is a select group at the front. Kaminsky, Nussen, Van Diemen, Darm, Bjorklund, Hoyos, SS is in here. Miss X100 I can see in here in that traditional red bandana in there. It looks like Mel at the moment at 8 seconds down on this group as they go past Bert Kahan, one of our Category 2 riders who was really, really strong in our MyWhoosh championships. And did a great ride in there. Both Kahan brothers, both Bert and Kahan. This leading group now in Category 1 are doing damage, and I'll tell you something, they are going to be down to a very minimal numbers. I've been doing some quick count-ups on the screen. We'll get confirmation that comes to the top, but this is now the leveling out. So we're on to platform 1, and if they push here, they are going to do some serious damage. Meanwhile, as they go onto the platform, you can see our riders at the top of this climb. They are coming up towards the very upper slopes here, and they are at 11% at the moment but we are going to see them come over the top of the climb, and this is where it's hard. It really, really hurts. 16% comes in, and you can just see the damage being done. Johan Aaron is a rider who is a man on a mission. He's a rider who we have seen progress week in, week out. He goes up over the top of that climb. We're 45 minutes into the racing. I tell you something, he's motoring.
Well,
the Category 3 rider, now 7th place overall.
I'm wincing because his heart rate just topped 200.
Ouch.
Only in my dreams would my heart rate reach 200. As we're in with Martinez Geraldo, he's currently the leader on the road, but our Category 3 leader, Aaron, has indeed caught the leading bunch in the Category 4 race. So, one lone leader in the Category 3 race, Aaron. 6 riders in the leading group in Category 4, and I can see a chase rider from the Category 3 race just coming up to the back of this group, so it's looking like Aaron is going to be joined, and that's Andres, Carlos Andres, who is going to join Aaron. He's currently 2 seconds back, but that is from the front of this leading group to the back of it. So it's looking like 6 riders from Category 4 and 2 riders from Category 3 now in our leading group on the road.
Really interesting times coming in for that climb. Category 4 rider, the fastest was Kaluma, going over there in 22 minutes 26. Now behind him came Aaron. Aaron setting the fastest time to date over the climb segment, and that is 18 minutes 50 in Category 3, and that is what gave him the catch. So coming through, he made most of his time on that climb. But remember, we've got our fastest riders coming, the Category 2 and Category 1. Category 1 have gone over the platform number 1, and this is a minimal group of riders from that huge race field that we saw starting off, and that is going to make a big difference as we go through. So the little group here behind, what they're going to be hoping is that the riders don't get themselves into a pack, because when you come over the very top of this climb, remember, having a group around you is essential. You're going to be incredibly strong to try and solo clear for what is over half the race distance.
Absolutely. So just doing a bit of a count here, looking like we've got 6 riders in this leading group of Category 1. Then we're looking like around 20 seconds back to the second group on the road. So 20 seconds separating our 2 groups in this Category 1 race. X100 currently leading this second group on the road, and this is the group chasing the riders ahead. On the top right hand corner of your screen, you can just see this sweeping right hand bend separating the 2 groups. Michael Knudsen now leading this first group out with Kaminsky, SS, Van Elst and Van Diemen all in here.
You could just see that Knudsen answering the attack of Kaminsky. Kaminsky went hard there, and Knudsen marking it out. SS marking it out. They will want to bring Mr. X100 back into the fold. Mr. X100 is a rider we know who will sit at a pace and time trial his way up these slopes at a great pace. He may not have that full-on top-end speed, but it's a bit like that sort of hair does. The guys who go off fast, they like the hair, they sprint up, but they then have to have a rest. They have to ease back off. They sprint and they have a rest. And sometimes, actually, do you know what? You end up in trouble. Then what happens is the riders who pace themselves are not going as deep into the red zone and can come up. Bearing in mind, of course, that in theory, if we have got Knudsen and SS sitting on the riders who are attacking Group 1, that is mentally damaging to the riders in Group 1, because they know that they are towing passengers up there, and it's win-win.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? There's just shy of 200 metres between the 2 groups we can see on the screen at the moment. On the left-hand side of your screen, that is the leaders of the Category 1 race. On the right-hand side of your screen, that is the chase group, but there are 2 riders in the middle. Bjorklund and Dahn are in between these 2 groups. Now the question is, will the second group on the right-hand side of your screen catch Dahn and Bjorklund and form a group of 7 riders, and then all 7 of those take the tow from X100 back to this group?
Well, the gap is yo-yoing a little bit between them. And remember, the time gaps are created and generated in live time. So that is based on the rider's speed at the moment, because we've got riders going across platform number 2 and onto the climb. Their relative speeds are going to vary. When they're all on the same gradient, that's when we can work out who's going quicker and who's going slower. But across that platform go the chasers in category 1 and the leaders in category 1. It's the leaders on your screen on the left hand side of your screen in category 1. In category 2, the category 2 leaders are onto the final slopes here, and again it's Olivier Simmons who's pushing on here. We see kick and rest from him. Jonas Bjarhed, Paulo Kirchner, it's Montoya, Quintero, Ace, Munoz right in behind him. Looks like we've got Van Haren in there as well. Everybody wants to be up in the mix, but at the moment it's Simmons who is setting the pace. He's the man who is making sure everybody has to work on the way up here. And remember, when we go over the top, we're quickly into that descent, and you need to be on the wheels or you're going to find yourself in trouble.
There is no free ride on this mountainside today, as Simmons is our category 2 leader, pushing on. Kirchner now digging in to come back to his wheel. Bjarhed is there as well, and Quintero. Now, this was a huge group of 28 riders who went into the base of this climb in this category 2 race. They are now seeing the top of the climb, and you can just see the banner poking through the trees as it's Simmons and Kirchner moving through this race field and to the top of that climb.
And on left of your screen, we're now seeing Michael Knudsen starting to stretch his legs out here. He's sat in and played the team game, and I think there's been a conversation between the riders in that UAE clan team. Remember, on MyWhoosh, you talk to your teammates. If you register as a team, you can talk to your teammates and no one else can hear you, so they will have been talking to each other. They'll know whether they need to push, what the tactics are going to be, and at the moment they're now putting pressure onto the rest of the riders by sending Michael Knudsen up the road, and Kaminski is having to answer this. Kaminski going in the red zone here. He does not want to let Knudsen go, and Knudsen, he's doing a vink.
Well, Knudsen has taken that group of 6 by the horns, and he's absolutely decimated. So Knudsen leading at the moment. 3 chasing riders pretty much together, and that's Van Diemen, Van Elston, Kaminski. Then a couple of seconds back to SS, and it's Hoyes who is the rider who has really lost contention.
Well, I can't wait to see what time Knudsen does if he's leading over the top of this summit. Now, whilst we were looking at these riders, just been keeping a double check on the times over the top. So Simmons at the moment has now set the fastest time. Category 4 fastest rider Kaluma 22:26. Category 3 fastest rider Andres going over in 18:50. So going through about a minute and a half quicker. 17:09 for Simmons as he went over the top. That's 1 minute 40 faster than category 3, but would you bet against this man setting the fastest time? He's got 6 seconds on the chasing group behind. He's absolutely tapping out a really smooth rhythm here, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. So he's on to the climb. He's making his way towards the top. So let's see what this rider can do. He's pushing here. He really is working hard and behind. Kaminski has been swelled up by this group, and Kaminski being marked out by the riders there of SS sitting on him. Really good to see now. Just watching the riders with them at the moment. Stefan Van Els and Pim Van Diemen are holding these riders to account at the moment. They are keeping them tight. They are sat on the wheels and they are following up. And I think we would see this group come together. Is Knudsen going to be able to break clear? He's definitely putting the pressure on here. He's got the gap and he is continuing to open, and you can see the damage that he's doing a little bit further back. Mr. X100 and Phil Graves are together. It's like 2022 all over again, because the 2 riders there have battled it out for years.
They have indeed, but my question here is, has Knudsen done enough? Because the chasing group of 4 riders in the Category 1 race are up now to a group of Category 2 riders. Now, there's strength in numbers. It doesn't have to be in your own category. Now, for the descent and the flatlands that Knudsen is about to drop down onto, the groups behind could all come together on the descent and have the benefit of an easier ride to the finish.
Indeed. Now, I think you're right. I don't think he's done enough. I think he will get caught, but boy, did he put a marker down, and has he set the road alight, because he has come over the banner. You saw him go underneath that polka dot banner. He has set, no surprises, the fastest time. So 22.5 minutes for Kaluma in category 4, just shy of 19 minutes for Andres in category 3, 17 minutes and 10 by Simmons, the fastest time, 17:09. Has he done a 17-minute? No. Has he done a 16-minute? Nope. Has he done a 15-minute? Nope. A 14-minute 52 ascent of the climb here today, and you can see the distance he's put in. You can see the gaps on the vast majority of this race field. This is a masterclass from Michael Knudsen in attacking at the top of the climb. Pim van Diemen is the nearest rider. He went over the top with a deficit of 5 seconds to Knudsen. SS was right on his wheels along with Kaminski and Van Elst. They are the chasing 4 riders. Now, Van Hoyos has just gone over the top. He is currently sitting about 37 seconds back on the leaders. Then we drop back to this group with Mr. X100, who's gone over the top. I'm going to keep a check on the timings, but I think that time just about to come in to us here. Now, Mr. X100 comes over 7th fastest time on that climb. He went over there, the ascent time, 16 minutes 20.
Look at that. The top 5 riders, sub 15 minutes on that climb. It is on the screen in front of you at the moment. So Knudsen, Van Diemen, SS, Kaminski, Van Elst, all sub 15 minutes. Phenomenal climbing to break this category 1 race. Hoyos, X100, Graves, Walter, Mayer and Bjorklund and Dahn all behind, but look at those time gaps up this mountain.
And David Dahn coming through, 1:45 going in over the top over the climb. Remember, this is a discrete time over the top, but because all of this group came in together, it's also the order on the road as well.
Well, the question is, can Knudsen time trial for what would be 24 kilometers to go first? To go first under that finish banner today in this category 1 race. Now, along the way, he's got 62 riders in front of him in those other race categories.
I think it's a really interesting point here. I mean, I think there's 2 arguments, isn't there? The group behind have strength in depth. They've got numbers. There's 5 of them there. But the big problem they have is if they go back up to Knudsen, what they're going to do is they're going to drag SS up there. They're going to drag a teammate of Knudsen back to him, and SS is more than capable of taking the win on his own. Well, and he should just be a passenger on the chasing train, which is Stefan Van Elst, Kaminski and Van Diemen.
Well, I tell you, they are working at it, because Van Diemen and Van Elst are absolutely flying at the moment. It's a 9-second gap at the moment, but Knudsen continues to push on. Knudsen has picked his pace. Knudsen has picked his pace completely. He's sat at 5.8 watts per kilo, 5.7. He's on the descent, so he has picked his time trial pace. He will be managing that effort. So around 180 beats per minute his heart rate. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly how long he can hold that. We've seen his heart rate go to around 201 at the finish line. He's within scope. He knows what he's doing. That is a time trial effort now from Knudsen. Can he hold that for the next 20 kilometers and take that through to the finish line?
Don't say that word. I was waiting for you to say how far he's got. He's got 20k
He has 20 kilometers to go.
20k. Traveling across those 20k, holding 180 beats per minute sounds phenomenal. But if he does that, it won't actually be that, will it? Because he's going to probably do 18 or 19k at that heart rate, and then he will push. If he's being chased hard enough, he'll have to push it right the way up to that 200 marker. as he goes in towards the line, because they are going to come at him and they're going to chase hard. Now, the chasing group are on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can see as they come down here that you've got SS doing 3.5 watts per kilo. He's just sitting on the wheels. He's trying to interrupt this chase, and this is going to make life difficult.
Well, Kaminski's been dropped.
Kaminski's been distanced on the way down here, and he's getting into the danger zone. He's going to have to get on quick, because we're going to come off the slopes, and the group need him, because I don't think without Michael Kaminski they are going to pull him back, because you're going to have SS sitting as a passenger.
He's really trying to manage the recovery versus the effort here, Kaminski, as he's desperate to take some recovery, because he knows this is going to be a hard 20-kilometre run into the finish if he's in this group chasing. But the group look as though they're going away from him. So Knudsen 8 seconds clear of Van Elst, Van Diemen and SS. Kaminski 3 seconds back off the group.
Great racing here, and always good to see riders who we regularly get to talk to on the attack and really working hard. Michael Knudsen, one of those riders who gets in touch with us on a regular basis, and great to see him animating the racing. Don't forget, we love to hear what you're getting up to, whether you're in category 1, who are on the left of the screen, category 2 on the right of the screen, whether you're category 3 or 4, doesn't matter. We know, you know, you can be as good, as fast. You could be at the beginning of your cycling journey, or be outright pro. We've got lots of friends across all of the categories. Please do get in touch. You can catch hold of me across all of social media, across Strava, to see whether I'm riding, racing. You can see us in France. Make sure you get in touch. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. You can get hold of Emma. Emma is our statistician as well, so particularly if you've got numbers, do get in touch with Emma. There you go, you can have all the numbers and the data.
You can get hold of me at Viking Emma on Instagram. Whilst we are continuing to watch Knudsen, I'm looking at the clock at the moment, currently 7 seconds, 6 seconds. It is flittering around this 6, 7, 8 seconds. The gap between Knudsen and the chasing 3. So the chasing, what was 4, now 3, because that gap back to Kaminski growing.
And one of the points you made earlier on, which I didn't pick up on, I made a little mental note to pick on a little later. Now is probably the time to do it. As he makes his way around, he's 63rd on the road at the moment. He has got the advantage that he will get some draft from the other riders as he comes up. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side of his screen, we are seeing what you predicted. Category 2 riders joining our Category 1 riders on these fast sections, aiding the groups on the road. I mean, you've got people like Taylor Gonsoling in here, who did an absolutely phenomenal ride on the MyWhoosh Championships. You've got people like Daniel Cadiz in here, Filippo Quadrelli. These are class riders in Category 2, mixed in with the Category 1, and that is just going to speed that group up.
It is, but it's also giving these Category 2 riders a toe back up to the front of their own race. They need to stay in this group, but this group are moving, and they're moving really strongly. Hoyas is the rider they are going to see as they go round the corner. You know, it wasn't long ago that Hoyas was in that leading group, so Hoyas now 7 seconds up the road from this group. And I'm just taking a little look here as the screen is changing. 1 minute 16 seconds up the road is the chasing group behind Knudsen. So a number of Category 2 riders in between this chasing group and Knudsen and the group chasing him, but they are continuing to motor, and there's strength in numbers. It's going to be really interesting to see how close this group can get.
Well, here we go. The run in has commenced. This is the long run across. Michael Knudsen comes through, taking a little bit of draft coming through, but he can't afford to rest. He's got to take that draft and motor, and this group are doing exactly the same.
Look at them trying to stay with him.
Well, I'm not surprised, because if you saw these riders coming in, I mean, Cam Winfield's got a monstrous sprint on him. He won't want to dull that down by working too hard here, but you can see Cahill in here, James Kranich in here.
But they also want the toe.
In here. And if these guys work together, this is going to, they know that they've got a fast rider in Knudsen. Knudsen's going to make the most of this, and if they work together here, they could aid themselves in the chase. Bearing in mind, Olivier Simmons and Quintera here, Julian Quintera, they are the riders that are in the front. and they are the ones who are trying to stay clear of all of the chasers behind. But this is absolute carnage across this course, and this is why it's such a Marmite course. Some people will be loving this, and some people are going to be absolutely hating it.
Well, if our sprinters can hang on over the top of that category 2 climb, they really stand a chance, but it is a matter of the toes coming from the category behind. Can you hang with a rider to take you back up? Now the leading group in category 1 have worked hard on that. The leading group in category 2 have worked hard on that climb to put the break into this chase group here. So Von Haren, Munoz, Simeons, etc., who are up the road, have worked hard for that distance and for that gap. Now this group motivated to stay on Knudsen, because Knudsen and this motivation and digging deep now, like this is the final part of your race, could tow you up and into the top 5 in your category. The question is, have you got the strength to stay there and see it out to the finish? But the distance is coming down, you know, we're coming up to the final 15 kilometers for this group, and this is a chasing group now. This has got Van Diemen, it's got SS and Van Elst in it. You know, Kaminski now is hanging on, you know, 14-15 seconds back, but this is the chasing group, and it is Knudsen they are chasing.
Well, this is going to be a nail-biting finish. Is he going to be able to stay clear of the riders at the moment? We can't see the time gaps in there.
It's 130 meters.
It's 130 meters in distance, and the reason is because there's so many riders in there, they are filling in the slots on the right-hand side of the screen between Michael Knudsen and the riders behind. He won't be able to see that. He can see the gap 150 meters, but he is motoring his way down here, and he has company.
Oh, it's 11 seconds.
So 11 seconds is the gap. Just inform me, and it is very, very close. Now, he can't afford to get in. One of the things that happens, I've been in this position, not very often, but I have.
What, leading a race?
Yes. And what happens is when you're catching a group of riders in front, when you come up on them and you come into the group, particularly I've done it on a laps race, where you come into the group, you take the rest and you wait too long. You just back off that little bit subconsciously, and you might, because you don't want to be on the front of the group, you want to take that rest, you'll take that rest, you take that rest. Well, you can't afford to do that for too long. And the problem is, when you do that, you are giving away time. At the moment, Knudsen is surrounded by riders in category 2, and the temptation will be to ride at their pace and not push on. And at some point, he's going to go, do you know what? I'm not staying clear here. I need to save some energy for the finale. I have not distanced Van Elst and Van Diemen, and they're coming up. Now, if I'm going to be able to work with SS, who is with them, we need to come together. Kaminski's distance is 18 seconds back. It's 1 versus these 3. But I think if they continue to push, they could come back in. And the one thing in favour of Knudsen is, because SS is there, Van Elst and Van Diemen know they've got a passenger. SS, it's that classic thing. Are you going to work? No, my teammate is in front. Why would I work?
Yeah, Van Elst and Van Diemen doing the work here, but the pace on the front of this group is matching the pace on the front of the group ahead. It's around 5 watts per kilo. Now, that will just keep them at that same distance. So interesting to see our next sprint, so our next segment results now on the screen in front of us. Matt, take us through.
Okay, so very interesting result here. Oya, Caligula, Kranich, Bjarthed and Giuliano come through 0.9 of a second in front of Stefan Van Elst, so not a lot. Behind, Winfield coming through with Van Diemen, Ice Cusimano and SS. Basically, this is mixed together because we have those Category 1 and Category 2 riders together. They are riding at the same pace through that sprint section pretty much. What's really telling it here, if you have a little look at how hard they're working, I think that makes a difference.
Well, what's really interesting here is the screen has just changed in front of our eyes, because X100 and Graves, the group on the road, which is Group 3 on the road in the Category 1 race, have set a faster time than the leader or Group 2. So that chase is on from behind. It's not very much, but then this sprint segment, just 300 metres, but indicating there seriously is a chase on from behind.
And it's a snapshot. That's what's so great about the sprint segments, the climb segments. They give you that snapshot on who is going quickly through the relative parts of the course. Knudsen working hard. Now, Mr. X100 in here with Juan Hoyos, with Jakob Björklund, really aren't motoring, but they have a big gap. It's 50 seconds to the group in front, and I think that means that Mr.
It's
X100
less than it was.
It is less than it was, and it's a big group, but we are now approaching 13k to go, which means that we're about halfway off the top of the mountain. That means that time is disappearing off down. Remember, the top of the mountain comes at 20.7. That means there's 25k from the top of the mountain to the finish.
Just getting confused by Matt's
maths. That with 12.5k to go, we are halfway from the summit to the finish.
I'm with you.
I should hope so. It's
the
same
most
studio.
difficult.
So we are halfway from the summit to the finish, which is basically the section from the top to the end. That is when draft counts, top to the end, bit on the climb did, and that's where we saw the moose. Now, I don't think they've closed down enough to get the group in front back. Remembering, of course, that as they come through, the riders will not want to chase their teammates down. Meanwhile, Michael Knudsen, left-hand side of your screen, he has one goal, one mission. Go for it. Push. His heart rate, 179 beats per minute. He's still sitting in that 178 to 181 marker. He's dropping a little bit here, but he's out the saddle now, pushing. I suspect that's going to go back up again. There we go. So the undulations on the road are really taking the toll. At the moment, the packs are really motoring in Category 1 and 2, but look at the right-hand side of your screen. I think Emma's jaw just hit the floor with the volume of riders at the front of the Category 3 race, with the Category 4 leaders in there as well. They're at 38.26. Look at the size
all
of it.
Come back together again. At one point, we had 4 Category 3 riders and 2 Category 4 riders in this leading group. Now, this is what group work can achieve. Look at the size of this leading group now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Category 4 riders that I can count in my shot at the moment, and the rest are Category 3 riders. There are a lot of blue jerseys in that group.
There is. I'll tell you something. This could be one of the most monumental sprints at the end. If this lot can stay in here, I think Emma and I will be drawing straws about who's going to call this coming in and through. We both love calling sprints, but it's going to be a tricky one with so many riders in contention, and they're trying to break this up. Look at the power being put down here as they go up. It's a slight rise, then into a descent, and they're trying to break the group apart, but it's not working, and time is ticking away. We're at 39k, 6k to go. Meanwhile, Category 2, Cusimano, along with Bjarhead, Simmons is here, Kirchner is here. This has also come back together. Remember, this was 2 riders clear. It is now a group who are back together, and I think that's 6 riders, maybe 5, 6 riders, who are all together in Category 2. So the effort that was put in on the climb has brought these riders together, and we haven't used this course all that much. The outer loop is a relatively new course, and riders are still finding out how it rides under the different tactics.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really is motoring today because the pace is high on this long run into the finish, and the groups are now all starting to catch and come together, and riders are hanging on like it's a finish line. So Simmons, Quintero, Cusimano, all on the right-hand side of your screen. That is the leading 6 in the Category 2 race. They are coming up for it. Well, they are around 8.4 kilometers to go to the finish line. On the left-hand side of your screen now, with just under 10 kilometers to go, is Michael Knudsen. He is the leader on the road in the Category 1 race. But boy, has he got company with the Category 2 riders, because they all want a piece of the action, and they want to get back to this leading group on the right-hand side of your screen.
and they are sat on his wheel. You can see they know you can't let that elastic go. If you let the air go in between you and the rider in front, whether that is in the road, the track, it's on e-sports, once that air gets in there, you're going to be in trouble. Now, Knudsen winding down the descent and up onto the climb. The group is around him, and they are all working together. This is a fast-moving group. Behind him, 39 seconds at the moment, the gap. He is holding that pace, and at the moment, SS, I think, is potentially having the easiest ride of the Category 1 riders, because he's sat in with these two, not doing the work on the front, as you wouldn't, because it's his teammate up there, just sitting at a pace that is trying to let Knudsen go clear. And this is playing into Knudsen's hands. He's got company, he's got assistance, he's getting the draft every now and then from those Category 2 riders when they can. They're all working together. They are a cooperative group. The group on the right-hand side are not cooperating because SS will not want to chase down his teammate. This could give the win to the clan team in style. He will wait until Knudsen's home, I think, or at least securing the notch. He will make it before he puts in an attack. Meanwhile, Kaminsky here, well, he's looking to bridge across. I think he's 27 seconds ahead of Bjorklund, but he's got another 20 seconds to go to get up to Pim van Diemen, Stefan van Els, and SS.
Well, you know, that tells me it's now less than 40 seconds or around 40 seconds between the group of X100 and the chasing group of Van Elst and Van Diemen. Now, I think that group may well all come back together again, you know, and we could be seeing a huge sprint if Knudsen stays away for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Well, that would be really interesting, wouldn't it? I just don't, you know, sometimes you think, yep, I know what's going to happen here. This is what, no way of knowing. It's down to, and this is why it's such a great course. Knudsen pushing on here. Look at the numbers behind him and look at the colours. Everybody in the red zone trying to stay with Michael Knudsen. Knudsen's holding his pace. I tell you what, he's pushing on here. He's got his heart rate now going up to 134. 184, 134, 184, 183, 184, because we're on this long, draggy section of the climb. He knows he's got lots of riders in front of him, and the groups are coming back together. Spratt getting caught here. That group has come back in, or Spratt now has the opportunity to jump in. Zanaska does. And some of these Category 3 riders, I think, are more than capable of jumping in with the group. Spratt is going to see them coming. He's looking pretty smooth at the moment, and I think Spratt is going to see lots of riders in with him, and he could push it on. And that's a game riders, that's more riders taking advantage of the draft. It's going to be an incredible finish here.
Well, I'll tell you something. If you think Michael Knudsen is working hard, these Category 2 riders are got their eyeballs on stalks at the moment, trying to stay with him, because this is an absolute imperative. If you can stay with Knudsen here as a Category 2 rider, this is the run in to see if he can bring you back to the leaders of your own category, and then you've got the opportunity to race for the top 5. But boy, is it an effort for these Category 2 riders to stay with the pace of Knudsen.
Well, really fast racing here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club on qualifier number 1 for July. The new round of races begins. So we had an absolutely storming race in Colombia on the women's race. We're in Australia for the men's race, and it's another absolute cracker as well. We're watching our Category 2 chasers in with the Category 1 leader on the left-hand side of your screen. The leader in Category 2 is on the right-hand side of your screen, and the distance now is about 800 meters between them. It's very, very close indeed.
There are, it's not just the leader here at the moment, because Simmons has Bjarhed for company, so 2 riders out front, and then we've got a 3-second gap back to what's looking like 3 more. I'm just taking the view of the screen here. 3 more Category 2 riders. We've got 5 Category 2 riders up here. 2 of them 2 seconds clear of the chasing 3. We've then got a mixture of Category 4 and Category 3 riders between that chase from Knudsen and that very large group of Category 2 riders hot on his heels.
Yep, going to come down to that last few kilometers here. We are inside the last 5K for Olivier Simmons as he comes around the clock. He's been racing for 1 hour and 5 minutes less time on the clock come the Category 1 riders. And at the moment, the gap between the chasers behind and the rider in front is hovering. It's not coming up substantially and not coming down, but interestingly, right hand side of your screen here, you can see we are in with Mr. X100, and he has 5 riders in his group in total. You can just see Mr. X100 here is closing down on the Van Diemen group fractionally here. They're down to just under, it's yo-yoing a little bit, but it's just about 28, 29 seconds consistently at the moment. They've got Kaminsky not all that far in front as well, and I think this is going to come back together again. I think we're more likely to see the Mr. X100 group come back to the group who are chasing, leaving one big pack chasing the front of the race.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see whether that prediction comes true. But I think they will definitely be picking up Kaminsky on their way. There is still over 5 kilometres to go. So with 5.1 kilometres to go, Knudsen is leading this Category 1 race. He's got a Category 2 pack and a big Category 2 pack on his heels. They are taking the tow because further down the road is the front of the Category 2 race field. On the right-hand side of your screen, they are 800 metres back. This is not the chasing group. This is the third group on the road. So Kaminsky has been caught by the X100 and Graves group. Between Knudsen and them is indeed our chasing group.
Yeah, it's the riders who are chasing Van Diemen with SS as a passenger on that duo as they try and come back to the leaders. And that is the battle unfolding on your screens in Category 2 and Category 1. That's going to be developing as we go to Categories 4 and 3. And this is into the last kilometre here. Now, Category 3 and Category 4 both fractured apart and broke apart. They are now back together in one massive bunch of riders. And when we say massive on a course of this difficulty, massive is basically anything more than 5 on here.
Look at the size of that group.
This is a big, big group. Are we going to see a move? Are we going to see an attack before the finish? I don't think so. This is going to be a sprint. Who's going to start it early? Tom Gates is. 9 watts per kilo coming from Gates off the front. Gates has gone for this early. He's now got 400, now 350 meters to go, 300 meters to go. He has pushed on. He's gone for this. The yellow banner is round a long sweeping left-hand bend. Behind him, the riders are coming. They're led by Carlos Andres. Roncalli is coming to him. And this is where the Category 3 riders are pushing. They're going to go over the top of Tom Gates. They've got over him, and Orengo has got the lead here with the red helmet. Orengo's going to take it. Fabiano Orengo takes the win from Carlos Andres, going over the line in Category 3. In Category 4, I think it was David Nowak who took the win there. Let's get confirmation of that. So we see Olivier Simmons. He's about 3K out. So unofficial and live at the moment. Orengo from Andres from Svart. They're your 1, 2, 3 with Kayan and Montello Menena, I think it is in 4 and 5. Let's have a proper look at that. Here we go. Emma, take us through the top 5. Our prize winners today in Category 4, subject to verification.
Yeah, so 13 riders in Category 3 lined up for that sprint. Orengo, Andres, Swart, Kayan, Monella taking the top 5 in Category 4. Nowak, Gutierrez, and McMurtry taking the top 3.
So really motoring here, the group here really pushing on. This is Category 2. They are on the way in and they have less than 2 kilometers to go. Prizes down for the top 5 in each of our categories, and they need to really move here. So Kirchner, Quincero, Bjarhead, Simmons, Ace really should have this. However, they know that they will be caught if they hesitate. They're at 43.5k. That means that 1.5k, 1,500 meters coming up for them. Now that means that they have got to keep squeezing. Meanwhile, Knudsen is behind, and at the moment it's about 100 meters, and this is a chasing group with Winfield and Caligula. They're immediately behind them, so this could come back together. Let's take a double check. Sorry, my apologies. 1K between them, isn't it?
It
1K.
is indeed.
I thought they were coming up on the heels of them
No,
there, but they're coming up on category 4 riders. So 5 riders out front. They have got to make this. Emma, who's going to get it? Who's the big sprinter in this group?
BR Head is watching the back of the group, and so is Simeons. It's really interesting at the moment because it's who can hang to the back, because they want the draft to come through for the sprint. So they are trying not to line themselves up off the front, but they're trying to line themselves up off the back to take the momentum of the sprint through the group to the win. They are coming up for 1 kilometre to go.
And that draft is critical. It's that jump in. It's that sweep through. It's that slingshot through. Absolutely flying is so critical. This is the run in. Let's have a little bit of a look at that sprint line through there. So you can see our category 1 riders chasing down here. It is the chasers who are putting in fast times. Knudsen down into 8th place here, but he has still got a faster time fractionally than Van Elst, who is in pursuit of him. So the sprint result showing that Knudsen is starting to fade. Meanwhile, Henry Uys has gone for this. He's gone early. He's at 500 meters out here, Emma. It is Uys who's going for it. The rest of the riders need to pick this up.
Yeah, he's got 450 meters to go. This is a long effort from Uys. Kirchner now kicking. BR Head coming through. So is Quintero and Simeons. They know that timing is important, and has Uys gone early? Has he gone too early? BR Head now picking it up at 8.7 watts per kilo, 9 watts per kilo coming from behind. The chase is really on. Quintero is coming, so is Kirchner and Simmons. The push is coming. They've got to hit this bend. You can just see the banner up ahead as BR Head hits at 10 watts per kilo. Can Uys hold on? I don't think so. I think BR Head is going to get this. BR Head takes the win in the category 2 race.
So BR Head rolling over the top of the attacking Henry Uys as they came in there, and the top of 5 riders who are going to get prizes should come out of those riders. All these results, of course, subject to verification. Now let's turn our attentions back to category 1. The riders behind, they're chasing for the minor positions in category 2, but they are involved in this category 1 fight in terms of affecting its result, because the more they push and fight with each other, the more they are giving draft to Michael Knudsen, who has the gap. Knudsen is leading. Pim van Diemen and co are behind. This is Van Diemen. It is going to be Van Elst, and I think there's a gap opened up to SS here, and at the moment Knudsen is 1 man against 2. Pim van Diemen and Stefan Van Elst are chasing, and the gap at the moment, that looks to me like it's sitting at about 400 meters with what is 500 meters to go.
Yeah.
That's not going to be enough. No matter what they do, they're not going to get this man back. I'll tell you something, I thought that was a brave move by Michael Knudsen as he came over the top of the climb and went off to go do a Michael Vink. Well, Michael Vink would be proud of the tactics today being used by Knudsen as we see the riders coming in for the sprint for the minor places in here. Now, category 2 running in, I think, Cam Winfield, the man who we know has got a big sprint on him, is going to put a great result, but this is for the win in category 1. It's going to be Michael Knudsen who solos into victory, who's going to make his way in over the line. Knudsen, our star rider at the front, is going to take this. He's going to come in and over the line. This is the battle for second place, and now coming in around the turn here. This is Stefan Van Elst and Pim van Diemen, and this is the closest race. Knudsen taking the race victory. Van Elst and Van Diemen coming to the line, and now it's a kick going in and through from Van Elst. Look at the power, 14.5 watts per kilo from Van Elst as he comes in towards the line. Pim van Diemen being distanced. It's SS behind, so it's going to be Pim van Diemen going in and through. SS and Jakob Björklund now fighting to get into that same position. Now, I tell you something, these riders are going to have to fight for every single meter as Björklund comes up on SS, and he's going to roll him here. So it's Jakob Björklund. They pull back SS, who was in that leading group for so long. What a finish here today on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And the results are coming in to our screens as Mr. X100 makes his way in towards the line. I tell you something, that was close in the end in the battle for second, all the way down, right the way down to 10th place. Michael Knudsen taking the race victory. Let's have a good look at these results, Emma.
Yeah, so Knudsen in 1 hour, 11 minutes and 53 seconds, taking the win in the category 1 race. Van Elst beating Van Diemen for second and third. Bjorkland coming through to BSS for fourth. SS being rewarded with fifth place. Then we've got Mel Water Kaminsky, Graves X100 rounding out the top 10 in category 1. Just confirmation that BR Head there taking the win in that category 2 race.
So our racing today from Knudsen, Van Elst, Van Diemen, really interesting. They had SS for so long in there. He still held on for that top 5 position, but it was Michael Knudsen continuing the trend of Michael's being at the top of the tree here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's been great to be back, putting words to the action once again. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be back with you next week. With me will be Emma Martin, and we are looking forward to catching up with a number of you. I know a few of you going out to the Tour de France and out there already, and we're looking forward to seeing what the UAE clan team can do on Sunday. Can they match the performance of the UAE Emirates that we'll be seeing through the week? We're going to find out. Emma, where can we find you on social media to catch up with what you're up to?
Yeah, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram. Get in touch. I love to hear what you're up to and what you're doing and what your numbers are during the MyWhoosh race.
And don't forget, you can catch up with me. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. We've got lots of great coverage coming up of the MyWhoosh races. Subscribe on Twitch TV. It's MyWhoosh Live. Subscribe on YouTube. And make sure you catch up with the races. And even better, jump on, download the app on iOS on Windows or, of course, on Android. Come and join us on MyWhoosh. We'd love to see you out and riding. So from Emma, from myself, Matt Payne, and from all of the team at MyWhoosh, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.